Hi everyone, I am Asif Aziz, data analyst at Pathfinder International, Bangladesh. I am welcoming you all to my presentation on capacity-based deployment and utilization of data collection, analysis and visualization tools to ensure FP and SRHR rights in a large-scale family planning program in Bangladesh. At the very beginning of my presentation, let me introduce with Shukhi Jibon Project. Shukhi Jibon, also known as Accelerating Universal Access to Family Planning, AUAFP project. This is a flagship project funded by USAID in Bangladesh for improving the situation of family planning. This project is implementing at the national, divisional, district and sub-district level, reaching those most in need of family planning services and information with lower modern contraceptive prevalence and to populations facing the greatest barriers. For implementing this project, Shukhi Jibon is directly partnering with the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare of Bangladesh. As part of implementation commitment, Shukhi Jibon Project also oversees the family planning compliance situation in Bangladesh. This is a mandatory part for every family planning project assisted by US government. So let's see what is FP compliance. The basic principles of FP compliance is voluntarism and informed choice of the clients or the users. The principles are articulated as guidelines and legislative policies required by US government. To ensure these principles, there is a family planning compliance toolkit. This toolkit contains all the principles of voluntarism and informed choice of FP services in any health facilities that receive USD assistance. Using this toolkit, the implementation partners collect the data of any possible compliance breach from the selected facilities and make sure no possible compliance violence is probably by providing proper refresher and training. At this part of the presentation, let me introduce the working process of Shukhi Jibon project for managing AP compliance issues. The working flow process has 8 different stages. Following these stages, Shukhi Jibon project manages the overall compliance procedure, which consists of providing training to corrective measures and providing refreshers after cross-checking the compliance issues. At the very beginning, Shukhi Jibon provide technical assistance or direct training regarding the compliance issues to the providers and managers of selected health facilities. After the training, Shukhi Jibon visitor fixed an appointment for visiting the facility. In the due date, Shukhi Jibon staff visit the facility and sit with the managers and providers of the facility and collect data by interviewing them. After collecting the data in the prescribed AP compliance toolkit, the interviewer identifies the findings and then review the findings with the guidelines provided by US government for cross-checking compliance issues. After that, he or she provide an instant guideline as part of the corrective measures. After providing the corrective measures guidance, the visitor deliver refreshers or on-the-job training to the service providers or the managers so that the same issue never happen again in that particular facility. After training, the visitor schedule another visit to the facility to check whether the findings have been corrected or not. This is a continuous process. After the working process, let me now introduce the data structure for managing the complex data of AP compliance of the Shukhi Jibon project. The overall structure has three independent components. The first component is DHIS2 dataset. In the database, we preserve the data of health facilities, trained service providers, and AP compliant status. The second component is the KoBo toolkit. In this component, we have data of health facilities with the trained provider and AP compliant toolkit aligned with US government AP compliance policies. The data collected using this form directly upload to the DHIS2 database system stated in the earlier step. The third and the last component of this data structure is the DHIS2 analytics and visualizer. In this part, we have three components: the AP compliance dashboard generated by the data of AP compliant dataset. The analyzer manages AP compliance finding using the findings data. Third component which delivers AP compliance schedule management for revisiting health facilities with compliance issues. After the discussion of data structure for collecting the compliance data, the major question that comes into mind is why KoBo integrated with DHIS2 for collecting the data? The answer to this question lies in this slide. KoBo Toolkit was used from very beginning of this project. During the time of COVID-19 lockdown, it was hard to introduce a new setup for the existing project staffs without physical training. As KoBo was already in use by the staff of Shukhi Jibon, there was no more training required for the implementation of this new toolkit. There are some other major considerations whilst implementing KoBo. There, it's a low-cost solution with no extra equipment like a mobile or tablet need to be purchased. This can be utilized with a basic smartphone which is already available for the staffs. This fact makes the use of KoBo an ultimate sustainable decision-making tool that is very much customizable and easy to handle even by non-technical person. One of the major considerations for selecting KoBo was most of the health facilities are situated in very remote places where you have to work in an offline environment, and the KoBo toolkit is very much capable of handling this type of environment. Besides, the integration of KoBo with DHIS2 is very easy, and using DHIS2 for data analysis and visualization, the decision making process becomes very effective for the users of all management levels. The major achievement for the project with the integration of DHIS2 and KoBoConnect is the compliance alarm management system. In this slide, we will be discussing the compliance alarm and functional operational procedure to preserve family planning client rights. The major compliance issues contained but was not limited to MR aversion uses as AP methods, incentives delivered, target allocations for method performance, training, availability of try-hard chart, client consent, denial of services, and experimental use of contraceptives. The illustration given in this slide presenting the process of how we manage the compliance alarm management process using the dashboard. It's very straight and simple forward process containing 3 steps. The starts with identification from the data collected with visiting the health facilities. After that, using the DHIS2 data analyzer, we identify the facilities marked as non-compliant for delivering refresher trainings and on-the-job training for mitigated compliance issues. For managing the overall process, Shukhi Jibon do utilize DHIS2 dashboards. This is the first diagram of our DHIS2 dashboard. In this graph, our managers will be able to see the percentage of compliance health facilities for identifying non-compliant health facilities. You can see that this graph is gradually uptrending, and which is one of the greatest examples of our success. After determining the number of non-compliant facilities, our managers go to this chart to see the issues identified for which the facility were marked as non-compliant. This is a table from where one can easily identify the reasons for marking this individual facility as non-compliant. This table helps our managers for rescheduling visit to a specific health facility and check specific issues that were marked as non-compliant in previous visit. That's how we track the progress of any health facility. In this part of the dashboard, one can see the progress of our AP compliance for a specific time period that has been set as last 12 months. If anyone wants to dive deep into the data, he or she can do it directly using the pivot application linked with this table. In this graph, we utilize the geo coordinates of health facilities visited with the compliance toolkit. The green mark facilities indicating the compliant facilities and the red mark facilities indicating the non-compliant facilities. This is a very easy visual expression for anyone for identifying the non-compliant facilities directly. Where we use full toolkit for the regional level users to identify the facilities of their region which is marked as non-compliant for making revisit scheduling with minimum efforts. This is the last part of our dashboard. In this dashboard, our managers can see monthly performances of compliant and non-compliant facilities. Using the geo coordinates, we mark the compliant and non-compliant facilities in red and green. By playing this graph monthly, our managers easily identify the situation whether the compliant or non-compliant facilities, basically the non-compliant facilities, whether getting the upgrade or not by the frequent visits of our Shukhi Jibon staffs. Now I am at the very end of my presentation. In this slide, we will be discussing the challenges and lesson learned. While implementing the system, we faced many problems. We highlighted some of the major issues we faced. The first one is the system management challenge. In Kobo, we have to change the form very frequently to keep it up to date. Very often, our field level users forget to update the forms while visiting health facilities into their mobile. The next one is the user level challenge. Setting up KoBoConnect in the smartphone is a bit hectic process for any new users, which requires direct assistance from the technical persons. The next challenge is the data validation challenge. This is a very common problem for every information system deployed because the updated data cannot be validated without revisiting the facilities physically. Then we talked about the minimum balance required for total new form uploaded for Kobo. It's the basic limitation. Every time we make the minimum change required, the total form updated into the system, which encourages the first challenge you discussed in the slide. In the last challenge we discussed is the user level challenge, which refreshes all the Shukhi Jibon users not in the same capacity to deal with such a technology driven data collection system. Therefore, need-based technical assistance is required to be provided on a regular basis to get high quality data. With this slide, I'm ending my presentation, and thanks to everyone.